Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about blame. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, in your experience, is it true that software developers usually complain about their system being bad? Yes. Yes, I would say so. I would say that it's more common that I talk to software developers who have something bad to say about their system, or the system is shit, and so forth, than it is that I talk to people who are really pleased with how their system is working and how everything is working and so forth. It's actually one of the things that I would probably go as far as to say that the this is the gateway problem that I face most right now in my current role. And what happens after is the reason why I find that, well, very little, very little apart from having the right people matter when you get to this situation. Let me explain this a little bit. So, I have now spent a few years, I think, with having a role within the companies that I work for that basically is that of, let's call it a technical expert, or someone who is, well, principal engineer, staff engineer, above senior, you can call it whatever you want. It's a role where I have to be more or less responsible for providing technical leadership or something similar to that and so forth. And the thing that is my special little niche is that when we talk about technical leadership, for me, like a lot of people who will have this sort of role are the architects and so forth, and people who do agile coaching or things like that. I take it one further, and I go and I basically market saying myself to the companies that I've worked with by saying that I don't just tell people, or I don't just suggest how to do things. I can show you how to do them, and I can share all of the experiences that I've gathered so far within my career, because I have a background in running quite a few teams by now, and I also know more or less, I would say, enough to deliver on any project in the web space. Not everything of course, but quite a lot of stuff. And so I can help out with the front end code and this back end code at the level that is going to be at the level that your senior experiences are at, and so forth. And so that is very appealing to a lot of companies, where they go, oh, that sounds really great. So you could, for example, go and take a look at a classic one is we have a bunch of systems that are not working so well, like the stakeholders feel like, yeah, things are not going so well. And so they ask me, can you take a look and see what you think? And I go, yeah, absolutely. And then I take a look, I do a little bit of an inventory, as I've told you before, like my favorite thing to do, which I always start with, is to do the inventory. And I take inventory of the code, this, like the setup of like third-party systems and what type of developers are working on it and so forth and so forth. So I get this holistic picture of, all right, so this is the system, it does roughly these things, these are the requirements, it has this stack, and these are the sort of software developers, or like the profiles roughly that are working on it. And from that I can more or less tell you what usually where you could do a few things that would help. Now, here comes the thing. During this phase, when you talk to software developers and all kinds of people, they're always telling me exactly as the thing as you were asking about, oh, the system is shit and everything is always broken and this is not good and this is not good. And if you ask the software developers, they say, oh, we never get time to refactor, or they say that, oh no, like the specification are always really, it's always really bad. You go to the stakeholders and they say, oh yeah, the software developers are not really performing, or things are always buggy and issues like that, and so forth and so forth. So everybody, we have a no blame culture, and nobody blames any specific person, but they sort of just toss the ball between each other and so forth. So what then happens is that I say, okay, would you like me to try to fix this? Do you want me to try to remedy this situation? And so all the stakeholders, they say, yes, we would like that. And all the software developers go, yeah, it's, and I quote now, every single time, it's good to have another perspective and a fresh pair of eyes on this. Everybody says that, well, practically or word for word. Never fails. And me, who has been on this journey now so many times that it's almost you know what's going to happen before it happens. And because the second now that you come with your first suggestion, the next thing that usually happens. Somebody's going to get in your way. You make a suggestion, and I usually say something small. Let's say, all right, let's add some unit tests, because I can see like everybody knows that the system is shit and nobody is to blame, but you don't have any tests whatsoever. You're not even doing like what we would consider the basics of quality. And everybody, all the developers kind of go, oh yeah, we should probably do this, and yeah, we should probably do that. Okay, cool. Let's put a coverage check or something in place so then we make sure that we are writing unit tests. And then the first person is going to come and say, oh yeah, I don't believe in that. Or, yeah, no, yeah, but that's going to delay my delivery. And I said, yeah, it's going to mean that it takes longer for you to write code. And if you're lucky, then your product manager says, yeah, that's okay. Like, how much time? That's all they always ask. Like, how much more time? I'm saying, well, based on the average software developer, maybe an hour or two, maybe a day or two, depending on. And they usually say, oh, yeah, that's okay. And then the developers, they reluctantly start doing that, if at all. And then all I do is to say nothing, and then they stop doing it in their code review. They don't ask for tests or anything like that in their code review. And then they start going back to the same habit again. And so I asked them, can you tell me how is it that the system is so shit, yet nobody seems to know why? And it seems that the only people who can control if the system is shit is, like, that's you, the software developers. You are the people who are writing the software. So if you are producing a shit system, who else is responsible? And they always go, oh yeah, well the stakeholders are this and that, and we have deadlines and stuff. Yeah, but I just literally heard from your stakeholder that it is fine for you to take the time to write some tests. Yet that is not happening. Why not? And this is it's always the case. Literally every single team I've ever been to where they have a really shit code base, it comes back to the same damn thing. The software developers hate their system because it's shit. Yet any suggestion to change their workflow is met by resistance every single time. It's never failed. And so now I've gone to the point where I say to my managers and my stakeholders, I said, yeah, I can teach them everything they need to know in order to fix most of these issues. And as I've said, and I actually showed them a little example, they are not even doing the basics. Not even the basics of the basics. And so my suggestion would be, let's start by doing the basics. And it's literally the same thing as trying to get your kids or something like that to eat less sugar or brush their teeth or go out more. They throw a fit over it every single time. Never fails. And then you come to the real problem. The real problem is that the software developers wants to have a nice system without having to make any updates to their workflow. Or you have product owners who wants a better system, but they cannot in any way delay any deliveries. And so I tell my stakeholders, that's your problem. Your problem is that you have either people who have unreasonable expectations and want things to go faster, or you have people who can't meet the deadline and write the tests at the same time, or are they unwilling? So you're going to have to give me better people, or do the thing that they usually like, because basically it's impossible to fix this problem for them, because they basically have to fire everybody or fire quite a lot of people. Fredrik, can't you join the team? And I go, yeah, I can join one team. And then I can guarantee you that these things will be happening because it is my job to make sure, because if I have to do the code review, you're not going to get through my code review unless you do the things I've asked you. And as I like to say to my software developers, it is not my problem. Like, you have clear communication from your product owners, or like that's the first thing, like that you're going to be able to do this. And so if you make an estimation that is sans, or like no testing included, that's your mistake. You were expected to do this. So now make an estimation based on how long it's going to take you to write tests. And then more often than not, I find the same thing over and over. Like, the software developers, they haven't taken the time to learn this, to do that to do it well. So they keep on bouncing. because they've never practiced it, because nobody's forced them to do it. And now that I'm forcing them to do it, I'm the bad guy. Because I'm forcing you to do something that you should have been doing all along, and now you can't meet your expectations anymore. And so that increases deadlines and stress times and stuff like that. And I kind of go, I'm sorry, it is not my fault that you choose to ignore a part that is supposed to happen, and the only reason why you're not doing it is because you don't have to. You don't have anybody to force you. And so I explain the exact same thing to my managers, and I say, you're going to have to protect me, because what's going to happen now is that when I start making this requirement, a few of your software developers are going to throw a fit over it. They're going to come and they're going to complain about me, usually behind my back, and tell you that I'm unreasonable or this or that and so forth. And that is why I always have a public channel where every single person who wants to see how I do work or what I suggest or so forth and so forth can go into my channel and see what I'm doing. And in some cases I can't, and I got into the point where I got recommendations from a few friends and my ex-girlfriend saying, you should have every video conference you have recorded, because that is how bad it gets. The pushback you will get, or that I get, from software developers who complain about their shitty system is at times at a point where people are getting fired over this. And yet somehow there's no correlation between trying to do better work, putting the higher expectations, and better system for them. So in my opinion, most software developers, they prefer to complain about the shitty system over trying to actually do something about it. So what I want you to take away from this is that I absolutely find that most software developers complain about their shitty system. It's honestly, I'm starting to make a career from it. I'm starting to make a career from going from shitty system to shitty system and talking to people and then showing them, here is how I would write this code, here's how I would do it, etc., etc., which most of the time people go, yeah, that seems okay, or that's so forth. And sometimes they don't even agree to that. Like as I said, sometimes I can't even get them to agree to changing a practice that is destructive to their end quality, and because of what I've been saying. Most people in software, and quite a lot of engineers, are more concerned with having their own personal flavor of a setup or so forth, or like doing things that they have always done it this way and so forth. And I go, are you getting the results? And so what I basically have learned now is that it's easier for me to go and ask the managers, are they performing as expected? And if you say yes, then why am I here? If you say no, okay, then I would suggest you make these changes, and then I can more or less promise you're going to see some results. And then everybody pushes me back and says, no, okay. And I used to get really angry about this, and then I say, nowadays I treat it more as a doctor. Here are your pills. They will help you. And you tell me, I don't want those pills. And I go, okay, cool, die. Have a great day.